Hey everyone! Jessica Jones Season 2 on Netflix has been released, and as we're working our way through these episodes, we're here with our first reactions. Is this new season living up to the first season? How does it compare to the other Marvel Netflix series like The Punisher and Defenders and all those guys? Will any TV show be better than Iron Fist? Yes, everything's better than Iron Fist. Welcome to New Rockstars News, our deep dive into all the biggest stories this week. So we're also going to talk about these new Avengers Infinity War photos that were released and what they tell us about the movie's plot, as well as a discussion about what's going on The Walking Dead. Why is the best storyline from the comics resulting in worse seasons of the show? We'll talk about that. I'm Erik Voss. Joining me at this table are...
Maude, Garret, hello.
Filup, Molina, hello.
Sam. There it is. I was waiting for it to turn. Sam Bashor, everybody. How's everyone doing?
We're doing great. These are my favorite people to talk about these things with at this table. It's a dream come true for me. And I can't wait to get started talking about our top story, Jessica Jones, Season 2. And as I said, we're still working our way through this season, but all of us here have seen at least the first episode. So I thought let's share our thoughts on it. Now, for those of you watching, don't worry. This is going to be a completely spoiler-free zone here. We don't even know what happens at the end of this season. So we couldn't spoil you if we tried, if we wanted to. And for those of you watching, yeah, do everyone a favor and keep those comments spoiler free too, right?
Or at least like tag them.
Or tag them. Say spoiler thing at the top of it. You know, let's
have
some
dot
civility.
space enter dot dot.
Be a good boy,
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be deep.
Okay, so we've seen the first episode. Let's talk about things that we liked so far.
Sorry, I got excited. The show is actually from episode 1, and that's all I've seen because I'm gonna marathon it in one day, so it's gonna be a blast. But so far, it's been solid. Kristen Ritter, I really missed her performance as Jessica Jones, and also she's doing more. There's more that they get to play around with, especially she's dealing with right off the bat the consequences of season 1's finale and Defenders, what happened in there, and they don't even need to talk about what happened with Defenders because critically and fan-wise it wasn't the most well-received show, so that's fine. It doesn't matter. All they have to do is just say it happened and we can move on from there. and now there's a different person, like people actually know who she is, which is kind of, it's weird because even in comics people don't really know who Jessica Jones is. She's a PI. You're not supposed to, PIs aren't supposed to be famous, you know. It's like, so I enjoy that new take.
Click, is that... You're taking my photo for...
Oh no. Which would be a great plot point for an episode in the show. Yeah. But spoilers, I don't know. But that's been great. And Trisha, it's good to see her back, or just Trish. I liked her deal so far. And I'm excited to see how they play out the IGH storyline that they set up in season 1. Yeah.
I think the big success of the first season was having the villain kind of unknown for the first few episodes, and we're having that back again, which I'm a big fan of. We don't know who this or what this entity is, but it's kind of like, it's super, super powerful. And the thing about Jessica Jones, she's like such a badass. She doesn't feel anything. She has quickies in toilet stalls. But it's really kind of nice to know that she's scared about the thing that is her most powerful aspect. The thing that, is the thing that, she's going to be fine, she's strong, but that might not be enough in this instance, and it's a new level of vulnerability that is seeping into her. So I dig that. But I'm noticing with Trish, now she's Australian, Rachel, right? Yeah, so her American accent is really not great, and it's grinding my gears a bit.
Is that your American accent?
That's my impersonation of Rachel's American
you
accent.
gotta do yours now. Yeah.
I don't hear these things.
That's what Eric's mom sounds like exactly.
My mom is Australian.
Eric, please come downstairs and pick up this underwear.
I'm just so used to
Is
hearing
your mom okay?
Yeah. I got a bad ear for accents. I'm just like, because tell me if I'm wrong, but I have heard that Australian and British actors their American accent is just based off of television and films that they watch, and I'm just used to hearing that as an American.
Right,
What's the truth?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, yes. This one feels a little bit forced. It feels like she didn't really perfect the American accent. Sometimes you just can't tell.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I can tell with this one.
I like.
But I love that there's an Aussie doing great things.
Yeah.
Yay.
They took over every movie ever and everything. They're all doing great. They've like everyone you love, including your mother, is Australian.
Yeah, most of the Marvel characters are played by Australians now, right?
I'm actually
Thor, Logan.
American, but I had to perfect an Australian accent so I could
That's
get
so
work
good.
Here. Yeah.
You nailed it.
Nice.
Thank you.
So many layers.
You.
You're welcome.
I'm really, I agree with what Sam was saying about. I'm a big fan of. You know what? Defenders happen. Don't worry about it. Like that's not going to be what this season's about. But that is also part of what I love about this show. Is I think it's of all of the properties the most grounded. And we're already talking about the Hell's Kitchen bunch. That's their name, right? The Hell's Kitchen bunch.
Yeah, right.
They
Boxcar
all
kids.
are supposed to be the street level heroes, and that's supposed to make us feel more grounded. But I think the fact that Jessica Jones always had like a different gig, being the PI, kind of made the show feel like, other than the fact that Killgrave had mind powers, it was kind of just a realistic thriller.
Daredevil's a lawyer,
Well, he doesn't practice much law in season 1.
doesn't he? He practices the law.
That's not how
Outside of
law
the law.
works.
Yeah. Street law.
Don't use that. But she practices street law actually a bunch. But the fact that they're not only so grounded with her reality, which I always love that dose in the Marvel Universe to remind us, like, okay, sure, Guardians are out there, but down here people behave realistically.
Yeah.
But then also psychologically, to me, it's another take on Superman in Man of Steel breaking Zod's neck, and how everyone was like, well, you can't do that. Superman would never kill. And maybe it's a big problem there because of the iconic character that would never kill and yada yada. But here, like you said, people don't really know Jessica Jones as much. So to really get into it's the exact same thing. She snapped someone's neck, but that haunting her, and it's like, I've actually killed someone using my supposed gift. Like, how is that gonna change how she uses the exact same gift later, supposedly for good? It's like, I could also snap your neck. Like, that's always like a go-to that can show up for her. So psychologically, it's such a grounded show too. That's one of my favorite things.
And you can't, like, because of Killgrave's abilities of being able to influence people, it's not like a physical thing, so it's really easy for people probably to forget what he could do. Or if you'd never experienced it, it doesn't sound believable. Super strength, you see it because they saw Avengers, it makes more sense. But saying that someone could literally make you do whatever they want, like, it's easy for that to get kind of mixed up. And since she's already such an unlikable person, like, we love her because she is the character and we're told to. But like, I mean, like, there's points when you don't like her just in general, but like, you're supposed to. But I get why, as the general populace would be like, no, she snapped someone's neck with one arm. Like, that's insane. And also one fun thing that, like you saying that it's grounded, there's elements of like bigger ideas or more supernatural, I guess, just to use a broad term, supernatural aspects of the MCU kind of starting to seep down to street level, because it would be like in normal comics, like crazier things happen in smaller towns, and like that's what makes it kind of fun. So I'm glad that you're kind of getting hints of that in season 2 too.
Yeah, it's
with a character, a deep cut character that no one
wizard,
really.
yeah.
We like getting spoilers, but it's just like weird that he gets to be in a TV show. But anyways,
comparing Jessica Jones to the other Marvel Netflix characters, she's personally my favorite just because I think Kristen Ritter is the most comfortable in this character's skin. Like, I think anytime you watch any actor take over like a superhero character, they're kind of doing that balance of trying to do fan service in their heads, but also trying to like bring this human to life. And Kristen Ritter, just from the get-go, took over this character and just made it someone who's like funny and is like an equal opportunity violent person. Am I saying equal opportunity right? No, I'm thinking
Usually doesn't get paired with violence. So I'm not sure.
No, she.
You get a punch. You get a punch.
Right. She doesn't matter whether it's a client who's coming to her who has like a real sob story that she should go after, or someone who is just like someone who she doesn't really care about. If they are trying to manipulate her and use her for something that she doesn't feel she should be used for, she will scare the hell out of them. And we see that in the opening scene of season 2. It reminded me a lot of some of these scenes in season 1 when someone's trying to like use her as a pariah for what happened in the incident in the Battle of New York. She'll trash their place, and to me that makes her such a likable, fun character, and a really believable character too. Someone who's haunted and doesn't want people using her for their own personal ends, and that's one thing I've really loved about her. The mystery I kind of have going into season 2 is, as much as I love her and I'd watch 13 episodes fine of Kristen Ritter's take on this character, is how much did Jessica Jones need Killgrave in that first season? He was one of the best villains we ever saw.
Yes.
And we'll see how much the trailer kind of hinted that he might come back in some ghostly form. But how much does this show need his presence? And his evil is a new dimension of the evil that we've never seen before.
So the first half of, or like the first few introductory episodes of just Jessica Jones, I was like, cool, now we know who this character is. And then I felt it was about 5 hours of her being angry and mopey and and down and that can actually be quite exhausting to watch time and time again. And it was the introduction and the discovery of like Killgrave, that first moment where you discover his powers, how he makes this girl kill her parents, and you're just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
This guy's like, you can be as strong as you want, you can't stop that. And I loved that complete imbalance. And I found myself far more invested in Killgrave than I was in Jessica. And I feel like he really stole the show and he carried the show completely, and now it's kind of back again where there's more layers of her being angry and angsty. I've killed someone, now people think I'm a killer, and now people call me a freak because they know about the power. I need Killgrave back, and I don't see this as a bad thing. I don't think that all the glory and the whole show has to ride on the hero. You look at Black Panther, you look at Dark Knight, like the villains that steal the show and that provide just as much excitement and almost integrity to the character as the hero does. That's a lot for me. And at the moment we just see a guy who can jump and literally twist a neck, but we don't. I like him shrouded in mystery for now.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
so it ain't no Gilbert.
Yeah, I think if I were to get any, it's hard. It's so early in the season. It's not really fair to like talk about gripes so much. But I think this is my general gripe with all of most Netflix shows, specifically the Netflix Marvel shows, is the pacing. Right. So they have 13 episode seasons, and without fail, every single one of these series, there's always 3 or 4 episodes that I felt they were kind of dragging their feet on. And there are times this is like a 52-minute episode. I watched episode 2 as well. I won't talk about any of the plot stuff, but like I felt like both of those episodes could have been one episode, and there are reasons for this. Netflix wants us to spend more time watching Netflix shows, and on the showrunner side of it, this is a staff of writers who will get paid more and get a longer production schedule if they shoot 13 episodes versus do what Stranger Things did and shoot 8 episodes.
8 sounds so good.
On the content creator side, we're gonna get more episodes, but from the consumer side, I think we could have paced this episode pace this season, all these seasons more quickly, so we can get right to the mystery, right to the story, and keep things moving at a more brisker pace.
But one like negative thing for like MCU movies where like Black Panther, you got like a little bit of this. You don't get time for characters to ever breathe and like get to know them. Sure. And they're like, okay, fine, we'll do the opposite. We'll give you like 13 hours with one character and you get to know them. And then you realize that like when the writers sit down, they're like, oh, we can actually take these characters that people don't know and actually make them more interesting than the characters they're already like attached to. Like if you watch The Punisher, people don't know Micro, and Micro, if I said that to a normal person, they don't know who that is. But in the show, he was really interesting. They built out his family, and you got to know his family. And the Punisher became like a father figure for all those kids, and for like the wife, it was a support system. And like it made the show more compelling, and you actually turned the Punisher into a human. But like it's a problem because you don't have usually enough writing to make these main heroes more likable for 13 hours. I don't know. It's a give and take, and they gave them too much. They gave them too much to work with. Like is my main point.
That's the thing. Marvel's so good. I mean, they're using the same formula of have their own origin stories, flesh out these characters, then bring them together. Right. But I think when you have, instead of an hour and a half or 2 hours, you have 13 hours. It's just like bring them together quicker. Like have more balance. Don't put the spotlight on one for too long. So yeah, I think we need more quality, not quantity.
And even Defenders, that felt like too long, and that was 8 episodes. It's like, what happened?
If we're doing gripes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think my issue has kind of what you guys are talking about a little bit, and it's the pacing. But I think I'll get a little more specific with it. I don't think we need her origin story. I think season 1 didn't need her origin story, and we were so attached to what was going on. So why do we need it in season 2? I think that's kind of like a trope that it's like, well, we got to find out how they got that way. And it's like, you know what? It was a fun mystery. whatever it was.
Have a flashback.
One, and like they had to really think it out, and they ended up changing the version of the comics. But if you read Alias, like there's not, at least especially the initial Alias run that really inspired the show. It's short. It deals with the Purple Man, and that's kind of like the story. So they do have to like figure out a new way to do this season. And I agree that they could do it faster. I wish they would just say, you know what, F it, forget the fact that how we've done comic book shows. Let's turn this into a Freak of the Week show. I think it'd be super interesting to do Law and Order Jessica Jones unit.
Or Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. And it's just like she solves the mystery, she kicks some ass, and there's a season-long big bad or something.
There you go.
But
it sounds very iZombie as well, though, especially with the PI part in there.
Yeah.
So maybe, I mean, are we seeing too much of that, or is this what we crave?
No, I think it's a format that works so well.
Yeah, there's a reason it works. You touched on an interesting thing with origin story. I've had enough of origin stories, right? Like, for some reason we have
right?
decided we want to get to the bottom. Like, we have an investigative. Yeah, come on, guys, let's go march on this. No, there's this idea of like we want to figure out where every villain and where every hero began. And I don't know. I think we saw whatever your thoughts on the Star Wars prequels are. I think that is a perfect example of like I didn't need to know where Darth Vader came from. I had plenty of information from the original timeline. Granted, the prequels gave us so much great stuff, and this is just where we are now. But like, there's so many examples of where we look at where a hero came from. Solo, a Star Wars story. Hannibal Rising. Like sometimes characters just work
Erik
because we start in the middle of them. Yes, don't look up where it came
from. His toddler
it's a
years
story
are
I
very
don't want
dark.
to look into. I blocked it out, and I'm happy with
Erik,
where I am now.
Put down the knife.
Enough origins. Enough origins.
I want
don't
a
think we
Snape
need
origin.
origins. Yeah, stories begin where they begin for a reason because they're more exciting to start in the middle. And I don't know. That's
you say
just
Snape?
my little rant.
Snape?
Yeah,
be really cool.
Might be getting it.
It's in the books a lot more. There's a small flashback, but
For like a second.
I want to know how his voice sounded like this. Like, what happened? When did he get punched?
Smoking? Was it magic smoking? What happened?
Yeah.
I will say, just to counter it, I like because there is literally no more comics after they did they did a few more, and then she becomes mom for like Luke Cage and her get together, and then there's like nothing, and now she has a new comic that I really like. But it deals with Purple Man again, so it's just like, and it's they're closing the chapter on Purple Man. That's what the story is, and you're like, I don't know if you could tell any more stories after this.
In the comics, it's way more open ended left with him, so they did kind of need to wrap it up. Here, they wrapped it up real quickly.
Yes, and it was a bit of a bummer. I am excited for the origin because it actually allows for the writers to open up the MCU more and include different characters like Wizard. No one cares. I'll just say the name. If you need to look him up, if you want to look him up. By that name, you probably don't know what he does, but like you have opportunities now to play with more characters, and Jessica Jones playing off those characters is what made her so interesting. So you can take B-list, D-list, Z-listers and write them however you'd like, and they couldn't be a new Killgrave, but they could be a good foil for Jessica Jones and her bad attitude.
That lends into having the big new baddie every episode as well.
Yeah, you would get to explore more.
Also, that's a great pitch for the Defenders because you could have Heroes for Hire, like Daniel Rand and Luke Cage, they're doing like PI work, but they team up with Jessica Jones, and you have Matt on the legal side of it, so they're all like coming together, but at the end they got
Dragon Bones.
Then Dragon Bones. Then at the end it's Dragon Bones. Who would have guessed that?
Yeah. Well, let's talk okay, so we're done with the first episode. It's they laid out some plot lines and some characters are discovering new things about themselves. What are we most looking forward to as we head toward the next 12 episodes?
Her getting back with Luke Cage. I want her.
Yeah.
I miss Luke. And I know Luke.
Heart's hurting.
And Luke's with Claire, I know, but like I want them together because they have a little baby named Danielle, and it's really sweet. That's going to be super weird now because in the comics, she's named after Danny Rand because he died, and now it would be like, yeah, you're Danielle after my best friend from that dragon time.
Remember
Danny Rand.
We met recently?
Yeah. You're a good role model for my daughter. Yeah, I'm going to name you after her. Yeah, after him. But yeah, I would love to see the relationship because they were really good in season 1.
Some of my favorite scenes, some of my favorite moments.
Great chemistry, yeah.
Even in Defenders, like even for like how rocky that was. Jessica Jones with Matt was great, and then her with Luke, that was great.
Well, it's like those people that are really loud and they don't care, and then everyone's too scared to stand up to them or to regulate them, and because he was strong as well, he was just like boom, and she met an equal not only in a physical capacity but like in an emotional capacity, and I really liked that.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna mess around.
For me, I really love the supporting characters on this show. Carrie Ann Moss as Jerry
Hogarth.
Yeah, she is one of the like best actor scores that they got in all these Netflix Marvel series. So I always love to see what.
You don't like Foggy Nelson from the Mighty Ducks?
Ben Barnes, Punisher, thank you.
Oh, ding ding.
I like all these people fine. But without spoiling anything, it seems like she has a very interesting subplot this season that allows her to really show how great of an actress she is.
Got a bit of an addiction.
She's going.
Without the dick.
She's going. Hey, who's got? You guys got? Do we have like tears like Twitch? Can you give money to that? That was a good one. That was a good one.
We'll
No, she's gonna go through the ringer because she's not a good person.
No,
she's not a. Don't even. Don't even. She's not a good person. So I'm excited to see more of her. And Malcolm, he had a pretty interesting arc in season 1 until he became boring. And then Defenders, he did nothing. But now I like him as this like no nonsense like assistant to Jessica, where it's like, yeah, she's gonna fire me, but whatever. I'll be back tomorrow. And like they're trying to help with her alcoholism, and it's just like Red Bull. And I'm like, I'm a hypocrite to talk about this, but if like every time she goes for a drink and she literally grabs like using it to that level, she's gonna run to the hospital even faster because she's gonna have like a heart.
Hold on, have you ever seen Jessica and Sam in the same room?
Yeah.
I turn around and it's
Bashor.
Christian Ritter's
Yeah.
he's on the back of my head.
Like a Red Bull baby.
That's a
Voldemort.
wig.
Just real quick, Sam is obsessed with Red Bulls and
I
drinks
haven't had
Red
one in
Bulls
3
like
months.
crazy.
I haven't had one in 3 months.
Maybe that's why you're going through withdrawal.
So
Yeah.
good.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
More than one a day.
Been drinking coffee, but less. Thanks, everybody. But no, like I hope he gets more. Trish is one of my favorite, also like supporting characters because she's like, let's see her
Nearly said it.
actually.
Nearly
That's who
said
I'm
sidekick.
looking.
Yeah.
Side.
That's who I'm looking for, though. Forward to there being a little bit more of is I want to see she's got an obsession with superheroes. I kind of want to see like, okay, so you gonna put up or shut up? You know?
Yeah.
See what she does?
Hellcat.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's, without spoiling anything, episode 2 really has an interesting storyline that is, okay, so a lot of these all this season was wrapped before a lot of the recent current events have been coming out that relate directly to the show.
Current events, Eric?
The Me Too movement, the Harvey
Gotcha.
Weinstein BS, and all these other things that are thankfully finally coming out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I
But
remember
there
that.
is a very, very interesting storyline that is related to that with Trish that happens in season 2, and I'm very excited to see how this whole season responds to this new movement that, I mean, you could even call Jessica Jones season 1 a bit before its time, and you could argue that it did a lot to start to bring this more to the forefront. So I'm excited to see how season 2.
You are very excited.
Very excited. No, that's good. I mean,
Love
we
seeing
should
men
talk
get
more
their
about
Very
comeuppance.
excited.
I'm excited to see it in the superhero world too, because these conversations are not happening enough. But let us know what your thoughts about Jessica Jones season 2 in the comments below. We're going to be watching every episode throughout this weekend, so we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Ask them, are they Jessica Jonesing
For heroin.
Malcolm.
And yeah, we'll definitely have some
Exactly.
more videos in the pipeline about this new season, so keep an eye out for those. We'll talk about more of that later. But let's move on to this week's trivia question. And you know what? Let's stay in the theme of Jessica Jones, right? If you wouldn't mind passing these out. Yeah. Okay, so here is our trivia question. In the first season of Jessica Jones, Jessica refers to the Hulk as, quote, the big green guy. What nicknames does she give to Captain America? Okay, so yeah, these are probably these little winks that they make to the MCU. They refer to it as the incident. Here we go. All of our answers are in. Later in the show, we'll reveal the answer to the trivia question and the closest answer, as decided by our judges. We'll do our sign-off goodbyes at the end of the video and do it whatever dumb voice or new character or fake American accent they're trying out. Meanwhile, the loser will have to cleverly riff on our in other news headlines. And there's been a lot of interesting news this week, so that should be very fun. But let us move on to, we got a quick update here, guys. Breaking news. It was announced this week that Jon Favreau, who of course directed Iron Man, he's Happy Hogan in the Iron Man movies, and he directed The Jungle Book, the upcoming Lion King live action movie. He will write and produce a new live action Star Wars episodic series for Disney's upcoming streaming service. He joins all these other people who are making Star Wars stuff. Last Jedi director Rian Johnson, who will get a new trilogy of Star Wars movies he's going to make. Game of Thrones showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, they're going to produce a new separate Star Wars series of films. J.J. Abrams is doing episode 9. So yeah, Jon Favreau is now entering the
Congrats
Star
to
Wars
him.
universe.
Can't wait to see
Wars.
Vince Vaughn in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to our next topic here. Avengers Infinity War released some very interesting photos to Entertainment Weekly as part of an in-depth feature for the film. The article and photos are full of big reveals about this movie's story and characters. So let's take a look at these photos and break down all the details you need to know. And yes, spoiler warning in case you don't want to know anything about Infinity War, but be honest, guys, you're on
That's
the
why
wrong
you're
channel.
here.
Yeah, right, if that's what you're worried about. Okay, let's take a look at this first photo. It shows Thanos on the ruins of that planet that we've seen in the past trailers. Now, we speculate that this could be Xandar, but now Marvel Studios confirmed that this is the ruins of Thanos' homeworld, Titan. Titan is one of the moons of Saturn. It's where Thanos was born to a race of Eternals before becoming an outcast, becoming obsessed with war and death. Now, in this movie, it sounds like Thanos is bitter from Titan getting devastated by war, and he sees himself as a savior to the good half of the universe, aiming to destroy the threatening imperialist half, and I'm guessing Earth is in the bad half. Now, look more closely at this image. It looks like Thanos is using the Infinity Gauntlet to clutch this big moon in the sky behind him. Kevin Feige confirmed this in a quote that Thanos is grabbing the moon. Guys, we're going to see Thanos chuck a moon at Iron Man like spiking a football. He's the MCU's Gronk. Sports references.
Chewie died by a moon falling on him in Legends. Sorry.
I can't believe they've never brought that back.
That'd be so interesting.
That hurt.
Is Chewie going to be there?
Vince Vaughn's going to be playing Chewie. Yeah. All right.
There's a blue glow around the Power Glove, by the way.
Yes.
So, and there's a blue glow around the planet
Power
back there.
Wow.
The Power Glove. Nintendo. Yeah.
The power, the glove of power. The power.
Let's move on to another photo here showing Rhodey joining Cap and Black Widow. Rhodey, notice, is wearing some techie leg braces that allow him to stand upright following his injury in Captain America Civil War. Speaking of which, it's interesting to see these heroes on the same side again, considering, they were definitely recently beating the piss out of each other at that airport in Germany. Now, according to the article, all of these heroes end up in Wakanda in an effort to protect Vision. Cap decides to move him there because, really, let's be honest, it's the best defended location on Earth. It's never been invaded. Most people don't even know about it. The article also says that Thor and Rocket are in Wakanda as well, with Thor carrying a new version of his hammer, a battle axe that we now know the name of, Stormbreaker.
Very cool.
Yeah, very, very
A
interesting.
lot easier to say than meow meow.
Meow, meow, meow. And Stormbreaker's cool. It's got an axe on the back of the hammer. Like, that's automatically
so
way
great.
cooler.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
And usually thunder breaks the storm when you think.
Oh.
Well
done,
Hey.
I was like, Stormbreaker, two cool words.
Everybody's one that says I never know anything and never add anything to the show. I did it.
And for everyone that says we can't 3-do Owen Wilson sounds all at once.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Meow, meow, meow.
We're going to say something?
Yeah, just real quick, I just like that someone pointed out that, poor War Machine, we had to go through a lot of rehab, really work on that spine. But meanwhile, in Black Panther, it's kind of like, oh, you got a spine injury? We'll fix it.
In
Yeah.
one
These
day.
two
Yeah,
fought
he
on the
was gonna be
same
fine.
side.
that's the face he would
In
make when he
Civil
figured it
War.
out, too. He'd be like,
Yeah. Oh, you can just fix spines? All right. I see.
you got, all right.
All right.
Really,
Oh,
Ross,
but this
you got,
guy? Oh,
you got
well,
a
you
bullet?
guys must have gone way back. Oh, you just met earlier that day?
Literally minutes before.
we fought on the same side. So, well,
Yeah.
it's cool.
Now, these new photos also include new looks at Doctor Strange, Stark, Wong, and Banner, and solo shots of Shuri and Loki. But the third one I want to look at is this great shot of Peter Parker surfing the side of his
cool.
school bus. Now, I'm assuming this takes
have
place.
those
Looks like
socks.
Sam.
Oh,
Looks like Sam 2 years ago.
yeah.
Oh.
In the trailer, we saw him on his school bus looking out the window. I'm assuming this is part of that scene. What's going on here?
Sorry.
Sam no longer looks like this. Is what we're noticing.
Yeah,
Happiness.
He used to look like this.
Yeah.
That's sunshine. That's when you go outside for long periods of time. That's vitamin D, kids. You're going to need that. Drink more water.
Now,
back on Red Bull.
if you're curious what shirt he's wearing there, it says lettuce, the taste of sadness, which I need to get me one of those. But at first I was wondering if Peter climbed out of the window as the bus was driving up to go swing away into action to investigate that Q ship. But looking closely, look at the
window
bottom. It
shut.
kind of looks like, I'm wondering if the bus is even on asphalt there. Doesn't it look like
Is
it's
he
kind of
flying?
falling or floating or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah,
he
like
didn't
somebody's throwing a bus and
Or
he's
it
on
goes
it.
off a bridge that gave out. I don't know.
He didn't get out the window because there's reflection on the glass, so that the window's shut.
Oh, that's true. The window is shut. So good call there. Yeah. So
Wait,
we'll
his,
see.
his hand's inside
Wow.
of the window? And it's shut?
It's got finger holes.
Sorry.
there.
Forgot
You ever been in a
doesn't have
bus?
fingers
They
anymore.
got finger holes.
It's like a bowling ball.
Well, to be fair, his fingers are sticky, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
are bent here. I also like that he's bringing back fossil cuffs, the leather cuff that I wore for
my
all of
God.
2008.
That definitely has to be with
That
the
was not
buttons.
2008, that was 2003.
No, I wore him in 2008.
This is his personal history. Don't want his origins.
They don't shoot webs until 8 years later, whenever that takes place. I'm still mad about this timeline thing, guys.
Oh,
I'll never
gosh.
get over it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's 31 in this picture.
And he's still in school. He's a teacher.
Well, lastly, we got to talk about the magazine's cover. There was 18 different covers, but one of them featured Tony Stark's new Iron Man armor upgrades.
So cool.
This new design has 4 appendages emerging from his back. What? Okay, now it's now confirmed that this new armor is being referred to as Bleeding Edge. We've been speculating about this for a while. In a recent promo, we actually saw his armor weaving over his neck and shoulders. It's similar to the Bleeding Edge in the comics. Actually, in the comics, it emerges from his skin.
So much
as
cooler.
nanobots
It's
to
like
similar
inside of him.
No, is
In
that
blood
cooler?
constantly.
It's
I
like
love
in
it.
his
It's
bone marrow.
nanotechnology.
It's so gross.
Yeah. This is just like I liked your tweet about it or whatever, that it was just the winged guys from
Venture Brothers.
Venture Brothers.
No one else responded to that, so I didn't think it was
I
funny.
didn't even hit like on it. I just laughed in real life.
Yeah, just lived in his life. Now, those 4 things at first reminded me of the Waldos of the Iron Spider armor in the comics.
Yeah.
There's like 4 appendages. Actually, these are confirmed as rocket boosters by Marvel.
For space
Space.
travel.
Maybe he's propelling himself through space. Maybe that's how he ends up on Titan, because we saw Tony Stark in
Man,
that
that would take a
location.
long time.
Yeah, unless they're like
Well, they might-
nuke powered, or I don't know. You think with like Doctor Strange can just here, you're on Titan now.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know, but
He just like destroy his brain to make him think he's on Titan. You're on Titan.
Have
Tony
fun,
Stark in a
Tony.
coma for 2.5 movies. Yeah. Now, guys, Infinity War is it's serving up a lot of great action. I read shaping. It's shaping up to be the longest MCU movie ever. 2 hours and 27 minutes.
Yes.
And the Russo brothers have promised it will connect all 18
I love
MCU
this.
movies that came prior, whatever that means. I don't know.
That's
Are you
so
guys
cool.
at all concerned that Infinity War might be biting off more than it can chew?
Well,
No.
22 characters? No. Is it
100%.
possible?
And it's only 22 characters. When you
That's
look
my
at the lineup,
favorite.
it feels like it just keeps going and going. Like,
I wish
like-
Civil War had that. Yeah, I'm all about it.
22 heroes, 18 covers. It's like, what, 4 didn't make it?
Yeah.
Hawkeye. Ant-Man was too small to be.
He's,
couldn't get a
he's
picture of
also
him.
in this cover.
also,
It would
just
look out of place
like-
with Ant-Man and Wasp.
for like nerdy stuff, there was a cover of Entertainment Weekly that had Thanos on it by himself, and it sold. Like that, isn't that weird? Like as a
Yeah.
comic
Very
book,
cool.
as just
Sure,
people,
yeah.
sorry, but as like comic fans, it's just like that's the character that got featured, and then people are like, I gotta buy that because that purple guy is someone I want to go see in theaters.
Yeah.
Punch that guy
I remember
in the red number.
Grimace from McDonald's. They're
Ripped
on the
Grimace,
cover.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd buy that cover of Entertainment
for sure.
Weekly. Yeah.
It's crazy. Marvel is changing the game with how films are being made. We've never seen this before. We've never seen cinematic universe. This is not a movie. This is an event. This is the Super Bowl of all this genre. Of
It might feel like
superhero
Ready Player
whatever it is.
One, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that like a revisiting of like, okay, so for us, Ready Player One, I mean, I know we're all 19, but Ready Player One like revisits a lot of the things that we grew up with and like we're so excited to.
Yeah.
Think about kids who are, 18 or younger than us basically, but like really young kids, their youth is Marvel movies. It's 18
Yeah.
years. That's from birth to 18,
Yeah.
and like that's insane. They're gonna revisit all the movies that they grew up with. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm
Just like
curious
us.
to see how-
Yeah,
Yeah,
us too.
you're
That's what I meant.
rewatching
it. Yeah.
Out of body there for
Yeah.
a second.
Well, let us know what you think about this new Stark armor and Thanos' moon toss and the general epic scale of this movie. I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comments below. And a reminder to subscribe to New Rockstars for more updates and analysis of Avengers Infinity War and all Marvel movie coverage. Thanks, everybody. And another quick update before we move on. Kristen Wiig has been confirmed to play the villain Cheetah in the upcoming Wonder Woman sequel. Guys, this is exciting. Wiig is, of course, better known for comedic roles from like SNL and Bridesmaids, Ghostbusters, but she did play a very, very dark role in last year's Darren Aronofsky film Mother that I don't know if anyone saw, but
Boo.
to me, she proved that she can toe the line between funny and terrifying. Maybe that's why she was cast.
Real
even
quick,
though-
do we know how much Cheetah is the villain in the movie?
It's confirmed, yeah.
Like the primary villain?
Or a villain.
Okay, a villain I can be on board with. Just saying.
Oh.
Just saying.
We'll keep an eye out for
You don't
more.
want to be like, Wonder Woman, hello, I just want to, that's me. That's me now.
Wow, good Kristen
Wow,
Wiig. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to our next story. The Walking Dead's recent seasons have seen a major turning point in the show with the arrival of Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the villain Negan, who leads the Saviors in an all-out war against Rick's forces. In Robert Kirkman's Walking Dead comics, this is one of the best, most exciting storylines. But when it comes to the adaptation on the show, fans have been less pleased. Ratings for the show have declined, to say
From what, like 20 million a week to like 19, or is it really bad? Is it good?
It's been more sizable than that, yeah. It's still like the #2 most watched show, but it's
What's number one?
Rescue 911.
It's still
Game of Thrones is the most watched. But I think we should break down some of the key differences between the show and the comics. And I have some questions for you guys about adaptations in general. So, hopefully we can like get to the bottom of what's going on here.
I thought you meant Nanny 911. That hasn't been on the air for a while.
Rescue 911 has been on there.
Okay, the first major difference is the overall presence of Negan. In the comics, Negan's presence looms over everything. It really feels like it's a one-on-one between Negan and Rick. But on the show, Jeffrey Dean Morgan feels a lot more like a supporting character. He has appeared in less than half of the episodes in the past 2 seasons. That's significantly less than the other series leads who don't really matter to the plot. Now, this may be because Jeffrey Dean Morgan is really a big-time actor. He probably costs a lot more to the network per episode. Meanwhile, Stephen Ogg, who plays Negan's lieutenant, Simon, has really kind of had to fill in as Negan's second half. He's done a fantastic job, but the tag teaming has, in my opinion, resulted in 2 half measures of good villains rather than 1 full measure of Negan that he is in the comics. Now, all the Sans Negan episodes bring us to our second adaptation difference, the new communities like the Scavengers and Oceanside, which really don't play a role in this stage in the comics. The Scavengers is a new creation for the show. Now, both of these colonies just come off as places on a map, really, with their own quirks, rather than real societies that behave the way real people would. Kirkman established that world building so well for the Hilltop and the Kingdom, but anytime an episode is set in Oceanside in the landfill, it's just there's no sense of stakes. Now, another adaptation issue is the role Carol and Daryl play on the show as opposed to in the comics. Now, Daryl isn't even in the comics, but Carol's character is significantly changed from Kirkman's version into one of the most badass characters on TV, really. Now, the problem is because neither of them are part of the all-out war storyline in the comics, the show has kind of been forced to invent new ways for them to participate, which too often has left them inactive. Like, Daryl spent half a season in a prison cell. Carol spent a full season in a freaking cottage doing nothing. Yeah, but at least the show hasn't killed him off, right? Which is the other major adaptation issue fans are confused about. This season saw the death of Rick's son, Carl, which does not happen in the comics at this point. And in fact, Carl goes on to be a very interesting character in the storylines after this war. Maybe the show was just ready to part ways with actor Chandler Riggs and reassign that cooler future storyline to new characters that they want to create. Now, while losing fan-favorite actors like Stephen Yeun, who played Glenn, and Michael Cudlitz, who played Abraham, that might have been harder on viewers. The death of Carl really felt like another departure from the comics that just robs us of seeing the cool guy he would turn into, and another example of the show slowing down a fast-paced war in the comics. Now, I know you guys aren't as huge Walking Dead obsessives as I am, but I'm curious to know, when adapting anything from comics to screen, what do you think is the most important thing to get right?
It's the characters. At the root of it, it's if you can make the characters as relatable as they are when you read a book, and you can get in like the head of the character and you can understand their motivations. And that doesn't mean like as we talked about origins earlier, it doesn't mean like boiling them down to that and you work your way up to getting to where they're at. It's just give us a frame of mind like of what their deal is, and then you can just move forward from there. That for me, because you get hurt too many times. You get like when for me, like we brought up Man of Steel earlier with like when they snap Zod's neck, spoilers. That has nothing to do with Superman at all. There's no part of what people like about that character in what happened in Man of Steel. He's just a depressing dude. He's just sad, and while that is interesting to think that if you're an immigrant from space and you're the only one of your kind, you'll never be able to meet them again, and you have to choose to kill the only other person you know from your own race, it's interesting, but it didn't capture anything that we care about in Superman. So it's like, for me, that's what matters when it comes to an adaptation, if you can boil down that. When it comes to the rest of the story, just adapt it and try to make it good, like really.
Yeah. I mean, 8 seasons is amazing, and I think that's like so well done. And sometimes you got to quit while you're ahead. I think 5's usually a nice rounded.
Yeah.
You know,
And Breaking
It's
Bad
even.
is
Yeah.
It makes room on the shelf where you get the box
and
set.
it doesn't. It means you're not like panicking and stretching out these characters, and, you know, trying to make things work. The hardest part about The Walking Dead having such a dedicated fan base is the writers taking on the feedback while also doing what's right. And I think sometimes like what the fans want so much can affect the storyline, and then people are like, oh, you're just pandering now. So it's really like a hard balance, and I have no idea if they're doing a good job or not.
Yeah.
But I believe in them.
Assume
8
they are,
seasons.
yeah.
8 seasons.
It's kind of hard to know for anyone to know if they're doing a good job or not, including the people working on the show. Because at some point you're trying to figure out exactly what the audience of the show is. Is it just the fans who know the comics? Is there a separate fan base? Which I honestly think there is. If so many people were upset by Glenn's death, it shows that there are more people watching the show than people who just read the comics. Because Glenn does die in the comics. It is a critical turning point. There is a narrative reason for him to die, but people got so attached to Stephen Yeun's portrayal of that character, and when he left the show, they did lose something that they have not replaced yet. And I am one of the, I think, the minority of viewers who I think Carl's death was justified. And I mean, no offense to the actor, I think they can get more interesting characters. Unfortunately, I just don't think the way there was a disconnect between the writers and Chandler Riggs that just was not working out, and maybe they felt it too. Maybe they felt that actor was ready to move on, and I think they could take that really cool future Carl storyline and apply it to Rick's daughter, or to Enid.
They won't.
You don't think they won't?
Because here's the thing. Again, staying with for a second, a successful comic book adaptation, there's I would say 3 major things that come to mind about the success of any story in general. But separately, you have your character arc, right? Like, what is your character going to go through? How are they going to change? What are they going to learn by the end? You have your plot arc, which is literally what's going to happen in the story. How do you keep it exciting? Something climactic in the middle. Something a satisfying resolution at the end. And then this one element that I think the Walking Dead TV show loses all the time, and it's just as simple as a character's want and goals, and that being connected to the other 2 things. So instead, where they'll lift a plot arc, they'll stretch the hell out of it, and they'll make it a season of the TV show, even though it's 2 issues of the comics, whatever. They'll stretch the hell out of it. Then they'll stretch, which is you would think is a good move, a character arc. It's like, okay, over the course of this whole season, Rick is gonna learn, you know what, he does need other people. It's like, okay, fine. Again, they did that in 2 issues, so that might be a lot, but fine. We want to see him change, so we'll go with you as long as Rick has an actual goal for a whole season that matches those 2 things. Like, he's gonna try to go off on his own and kill every walker or something. Like, he has like something very specific that he's gonna try to do, and throughout the course he's gonna learn about needing other people and go through some sort of plot that's interesting. Instead, they do the other 2, but the characters feel like they're floating along in this story, and so you could kind of like, which you should never be able to do this, you can jump in episode 1, jump in a middle episode, jump into the last episode, and you got the whole season. And it's because they don't actually they're never succeeding or failing. They're always in limbo.
Right, yeah. And I mean, to be a bit cynical, I think when you're watching television shows, so many of these problems can just be ignored if you really nail the villain. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan's acting is awesome. I love him in this show. But in terms of how much they use him, think of so many other shows that like are kind of divisive, right? Maybe like Dexter. There's a couple really great seasons of the show Dexter on Showtime, purely because the villain is incredible. Boardwalk Empire, Bobby Cannavale played an amazing character. Amazing villain, I believe is season 3 or 4. There's so many of these like hour-long drama series
Jessica Jones.
And you can get so much done by just letting the villain take over the story for a season, and they have not let Negan do that. They have not unchained him. He appears every 4th episode. It's like, if anything, I mean, as much as I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Stephen Ogg has proven he's such a great character actor, and he is captured that kind of Negan spirit in a way. It makes me wish we could go back in time and just cast him so that you can afford to put him in every single episode and let him be the true lead that Negan should be in this story, because that's a reason people love this storyline in the comics. He's such a fun character.
Yeah, he's on the cover of so many of those issues in the comics.
And he has not been on the cover of most of these episodes. And I think the thing that I hopefully going forward they'll be able to course correct. Maybe it's just a matter of AMC shelling out more money to the budget. We'll see. Well, what do you think The Walking Dead could use more of? Or do you think the show is fine and maybe some of the haters out there should just lay off? Either way, comment down below. And a reminder to you all to subscribe to New Rockstars for all of our recaps and analysis of The Walking Dead episodes. Thanks, everybody. Now it's time to move on to our New Rockstars News Lightning Round. You guys were nice enough to tweet us some questions. I'm going to fire them at my co-host. We have to answer them as quickly and without hesitation as possible. Is everyone ready?
No hesitation.
Yes.
No hesitation. Here we go.
Whammies.
For Sam. Okay, interesting one from @BestedByAdam. Who would you rather want to see in a DCEU movie? Charlie Hunnam as Green Arrow and Catherine Winnick as Black Canary, or Armie Hammer as Hal Jordan and Idris Elba as Jon Stewart?
That second one,
Ooh.
Idris Elba and Armie Hammer, because that would be
Yeah.
the coolest team up.
Yeah.
That's
Ever.
great.
Bested by
casting.
Adam. Are you
Yeah.
a casting director?
That's
you need to
really
look for,
good.
And Black Canary and Green Arrow was really good.
A superhero movie. I mean, Pacific Rim doesn't count because he's
Wasn't
not
he
been
in talks to play something, or am I?
There were
thinking-
rumors for Green Arrow. That was one of the
Okay,
things that
yeah.
happened, and maybe something else. But he wouldn't be bad. He wouldn't be bad. You got to go T
Idris
already.
Elba has been.
Yes, but he would also be a really
Yeah.
good Jon Stewart.
Well, you
Yeah,
can play
we
multiple.
can do a Marvel DC crossover. All right, for Filup. From @ShinyVerse78 wants to know, what 3 sci-fi/comic book movies would you want to have on a deserted island?
Comic book
Don't
slash stuff. Okay, Dark Knight, obviously.
Yeah.
I'll say Noah and Interstellar because it's every movie that's ever happened is inside of the movie Interstellar. And 3, I'm gonna cheat and I'll record on 1 VHS tape all of the DC animated movies because those are so good. They're so
They're
good.
great.
That's cheating, though.
1 VHS tape. I don't even have a VCR.
For Mod, DY Linsterdley wants to know, what is a guilty pleasure movie of yours? In his or her case, they say they cannot resist a good old national treasure.
National Treasure's dope. Ready?
Guilty
The
pleasure.
first thing that came into my mind was She's All That, but it's so not good for this time at all.
All
It
That.
dated terribly, but I'm a big fan of Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Paul Walker.
Is it the Matthew Lillard dances? Is it great? Is that
yeah.
She's All That? Yeah.
Well, that's the glasses
Still
and the
sucks they get
ponytail. That's a
But
classic.
I mean, I wasn't
Yeah.
born when that movie came out, so I don't know how that's.
Yeah, you just your mom made you watch
I'm
it.
rewatching Grey's Anatomy. Oh, and yeah, there's 13 seasons.
14.
Whoa.
14 seasons of Grey's
And I actually
You did that with
stopped.
SVU, though.
Yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
but I stopped at like 5 or 6, so I never actually watched the second half of all of Grey's. So I'm starting again.
The 15th season.
Wait, are you
going
starting
back
from the
to all
beginning and
first
then
14.
working your way? Oh, God, don't do that to
Did it with-
yourself.
I did it with Law and Order, and it was great.
No, it couldn't have been.
13 seconds in, I was like, it's the guy in the background, the pink shirt.
Do you have an iced tea
Dun, dun,
impression?
dun, dun, dun.
Not that I can do.
For me, Juan FJCO.
Says, if you could choose a fictional character to join the New Rockstars team, who would you choose?
Who do we want?
I would say, ooh, that's a good question. I would say Morgan Freeman, who's not a fictional character. Any fictional character that Morgan Freeman plays. Oh, just for that voice. Oh, for that voice. I want to hear his voice. You want to hear his voice, right?
How about
Describe
Morgan Freeman
all of
as
our-
God then?
Yeah, that's what I was
Morgan
thinking.
Freeman as God, and he knows all. So we won't have any more like fact errors. Like when I thought Elizabeth Banks was Parker Posey, he'd be able to correct me on that. Yeah. Right, and what a voice!
And he might know all the
What a
dirty
voice.
gossip
What a
from the
voice.
sets. You could give us behind the scenes
Yeah, we could get that
scoops.
Voss
From the
goss.
setup Evan
Classic
Almighty.
God, yeah.
That's what we're trying. We're all desperate for Evan Almighty breakdown.
Yeah.
I want Evan from Evan Almighty on this. Sorry, no one asked me, but I'd take Stephen Carell.
Well, thank you for sending your questions, everybody, and keep them coming. We'll see you next week on that. But next up, let's take a look at what we got in the pipeline for videos coming out on the channel the next week. Of course, Walking Dead episode 11 is coming on Sunday, and we'll have a breakdown of that. Sam's continuing his MC rewatch.
With Captain America Winter Soldier, one of my favorite action movies. It is so much fun. It was such a great time watching it. Boy, oh boy, when they said there were errors in this movie, there are a ton, but it didn't make me dislike this at all, which was awesome. Also, going to be doing Jessica Jones Season 2 Easter eggs very soon. So I gotta get. It'd be bad for me to only watch one episode, so I gotta get going.
Yeah. We'll also have some more videos on Infinity War. Now that we have this interesting origin from Thanos in the
Which is a
MCU,
new origin,
new
by the
origin
way.
that they've come up. It's because maybe it's this whole idea of mistress death in the MCU is just maybe a step too far for most general audiences. We're gonna do an explainer on what Thanos' new origin means, how it does relate to the comics, and what it could mean for Infinity War, the first part. part and the second part and beyond. We're also, a lot of you have been tweeting us about the Black Order, which is his team of lieutenants.
His cronies.
Proxima Midnight. Yeah, so we're going to do another explanation on that and more Infinity War stuff, so keep an eye out for all of that. Okay, so now comes the time for our 15-second shout-out, where each of us has 15 seconds to shout out, plug, or ramble about anything we want. Sam, why don't you start?
Okay, I wanted to actually give a shout out to you guys because I just went to Emerald City Comic Con and I ran into a bunch of people, and there was a very nice artist who shook my hand for a while, and he told me about how much he enjoys new Rockstars, and he kept asking me stuff about you guys, and he was like, "What do they think about this?" I'm like, "They're not here, so I don't know what to say about that." But no, it was very nice to meet you guys. I just touched that twice. And I hope you enjoy all this content, and thank you for supporting us.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks.
Emerald.
And I just got the coolest shout out of the episode.
For my shout out, I am now, if you live in the Los Angeles area, I'm back on performing on comedy stages. So
he was banned before, but they couldn't keep him out.
No, my theater unfortunately shut down by some mismanagement in Chicago. But I've landed back on my feet. If you want to go to the Second City in Hollywood on March 17th, I'm doing a show there. And then immediately the next day on March 18th at the Acme Theater in Hollywood, I am doing a sketch show that's going to be super funny. So that's my 15-second shout out. Yeah.
Cool, great. Mine is going to come from the tech world. I'm going nuts for the shape scale. If you're interested in Indiegogo type tech, that doesn't always work out and usually doesn't work out and mostly doesn't work out. This one is
what a great
scale
sell.
but this one that might not work out is a scale that you stand on, and then it shoots up this like little vertical camera, and the camera spins around you 360, and then it creates a freaking 360 model of your body exactly. That you can like spin and manipulate, and then as you work out or lose weight or gain weight, whatever it is, he's trying to. You have a marathon coming that you're working out for. But as you adjust, it overlays the new changes over your body, so you actually see the differences.
And then it prints out
you.
a suit of what your old body looked like, and you can wear that.
But it's like stretched.
Look at me,
Mother. Love me, mother. It's not you wearing it. Maude is wearing your same.
How can I contribute to this?
I feel like it's not going to work out that way, but check it out. The shape scale, support it.
I've got a lot more junkets coming up on Geek Bomb.
Nice.
So I interview celebrities for my other job, and Oprah was a recent one, which was a lot of fun. Oh gosh, did I not say my first sentence using any actual words? That was awesome. But there's a really fun moment there where I ask if Chris Pine is a reader, and like 20 seconds into the interview goes, "I thought you called me a breeder."
Whoa.
Imagine what I did to try and get that back on track. I didn't. Anyway, so I do like fun little compilations of all my fun parts and fails in junkets, and also Jason Bateman is in there, and come on,
for a game night?
Oh, Natalie frickin' Portman.
Ooh.
No, but like she's like making it sound like it's for. Maude has a treasure trove of interviews with celebrities on Geek Bomb that is just like endless, and it's like top of the top A-list.
Anyone you want.
Great, really funny interviews.
I had a really good chat with Oscar Isaac about this. Longer than 15 seconds. I'm so sorry, but running between the set of Star Wars and Annihilation.
Whoa,
literally would
weird.
get off set, drive to the other set.
What a
and
pro.
Yeah.
Also,
That's
when
so
you
cool.
meet Oprah, you know how astronauts get like a little time of awe when they look at Earth for the first time? They're like, it's the pause moment. You need that for Oprah. When you like meet her, you're like, oh.
I didn't.
Oprah.
Yeah, no. And they were talking about very like personal things while I was sitting there, like while they were getting ready, just talking about. I'm like,
She's just good at doing that.
okay, okay.
Man.
Well, finally, let's return to the trivia question that we asked earlier, just to remind you guys what it was. In the first season of Jessica Jones, Jessica refers to the Hulk as a big green guy. What nickname does she give to Captain America? Let's see what we wrote.
Erik said Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam.
Sam. That's not bad.
Uncle Sam over there.
Yeah,
That's
should
just
write
in
for
my head,
that show. Check out his comedy routine.
Uncle Sam.
Cool. Sam on a beach said, "The guy with the frisbee." Guy with the frisbee over there.
That is how she delivered the line. So yeah.
See, the guy with the frisbee.
Philip said the Human Torch.
She's seen
Burn.
Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Big Fantastic Four fan. And Maude wrote, Shield dude.
All right.
Shield my dude.
Shield dude. Okay.
Shield dude.
Okay, well, the correct answer is flag waver.
What?
Flag
Oh,
waver.
flag waver.
Does he ever wave a flag?
No. He is the flag.
So the guy with the frisbee, Uncle Sam, the Human Torch, and
Shield dude.
Shield dude.
Who,
Shield dude.
Judges.
It is close.
Our judges
like
have
that eye roll
decided
hurt.
that guy with the frisbee is the loser, so Sam unfortunately loses. But okay, so I'll do our goodbyes, and then Sam's gonna have to take care of our in other news headlines that we didn't have time for. Maude will read the setup, the headline. Sam will have to react to the headline and cleverly riff on it. Maude, are you ready?
Yeah.
Sam, good to go?
I'm
you
away.
are. All right, take it away, Maude.
In other news, the Joker origin movie, directed by Todd Phillips, which has Joaquin Phoenix in talk to play for the role, is rumored to feature the Joker as a failed comedian in the 80s.
Hey, I'm
So
a failed
Sam.
comedian in the aughts.
In the tots?
Aughts in the
Ew,
tots.
Sam, why'd you say that?
I was a toddlers and tiaras comedian.
Oh, God,
no!
Oh, God.
No, I thought you meant like tot. What is that the acronym for?
I don't know.
It's a
Toddlers.
no.
And
She's T-H-O-T.
That.
I'm
oh, a
sorry.
thought?
That
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought
happy lady
the-
over there.
The
Yeah.
H was,
Yeah.
Hey, anyway, moving on. The Black Panther Killmonger actor Michael Bay Jordan offered to pay the dental costs of a girl who broke her retainer while seeing him shirtless in the movie. Snapped it.
Didn't we all? That is my joke. And number 3.
Didn't we all pay for that girl's retainer?
We should
our
all pay for
taxes
her
go?
retainer.
No, we all broke our retainers when he took his shirt off.
He gave
Eric
you
broke
an
his
out.
pants.
Yes.
I ate a big turkey. You got to unbutton before you eat a turkey in a movie. You can't see how fat you're getting in that
I'm
turkey eater.
Taking that 19 wrong ways. Anyway, Thor actor Chris Hemsworth is in talks to star in a Men in Black spin-off movie.
All these are moving in to the. It's coming. It's coming down the.
Where did you go just now?
He's still there.
He's talking to Oprah.
You
over
could
here.
you could hit the escape button. You can get me out of this.
No.
You could just
There's
read the next
no
one.
escape
button.
Okay,
Neuralizer.
here it is. Here it is. Here it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here come the Men in Black.
He does not make this look good. Right?
Here it comes. Here it comes. That one.
He does not make this look good. All right.
All right, moving on.
Knew what was gonna happen. You could pick the human
Why
torch.
can't we ever finish the show with some integrity?
No,
Funny.
we used to do punishments with like helium and stuff, and now you have to guess through this.
John
That-
Williams has said that Star Wars Episode 9 will be his final Star Wars movie to compose music for.
There's nothing there. John Williams. It's coming.
I don't think it is. Something's
The
coming.
manufacturer
I'm
of
so
a...
sweaty, guys. It's getting so hot in here.
It is.
Didn't he retire after Duel of the Fates?
Yeah.
Burn.
Touch my hand. Feel how sweaty it is.
No, thank you.
Go on.
The manufacturer of a Shape of Water-inspired sex toy said that after the movie won Best Picture, the Amphibian Man dildos sold out in 20 minutes.
Sam, don't. Sam is broken.
Sorry, that was a lot to unpack.
That smells fishy.
But it smells fishy.
Is one. That's not nice.
Man, I wish I made you guys proud.
You do.
It's okay.
Don't patronize me.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I was proud to be here for the last time.
Okay.
Oh,
Is
get
that
side with a
happening?
fish. Is
No.
there anything there? Side with a fish? Side with a fish?
They jumped the shark.
Yeah, that's good.
Literally
That's so
jumped.
great.
It's just you come up with every good comeback as soon as you walk out of the room.
Yeah.
To Eric, it's a normal dildo.
Well, as my responsibility, I'm not even gonna address. I'm not gonna dignify that with a response. I'm not gonna dignify it with a response. He always makes fun of me when I wear the color palette of Shape of Water in shows. I'm not gonna do it.
There you go.
And I was. I was gonna do something fun and goofy for the goodbyes. But
He won this episode.
I wanted to. You ruined. But now I'm just gonna do it in a bad Australian accent in honor of.
Why do I have to get
well,
punished when he says
it's to show how bad I am at Australian accents, and I'll do an Australian accent doing an American accent.
Hey.
Okay. Thank you for watching this week's episode. The episode of New Rockstars News. I want to thank our host, Sam Bashor.
Rootin' tootin', aren't you?
At Sam Bashor. Erik Voss. At EA Voss, Filup Molina, and Maude Garret.
No, say it properly. Say my name, bitch.
Maude Garret. At Maude.
Sounds like a
Maude
little
Garret.
slip of a fart.
Comment down below and tweet us at New Rockstars. Rockstars, like this video, share it around, and subscribe to New Rockstars for deep dives and all the stuff you love.
That's what? That is
See you
so
next
good.
week, love. Bye, love. So Sheila.
Bye.
Sheila. Did you say slip of a fart? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
It's just a slip of a fart.
And she was gone.
Was Maude here?
I have the opening line for my new book.
Maybe you could do some